Hi, welcome to another vlog. Today, hang on, I'm just going to quickly turn this off. Okay, right, I'll try that again. Make a lot of noise. Hi, welcome to another vlog. Today I'm going to be introducing you to a very timorous beastie, but first I think we need to change location. And also, by the way, before I carry on, I was hoping that the weather would be a bit more, what's the word, bright today, but I literally get out of the house and then, well, this is what you don't expect to see. So yeah, it's pretty murky out there, gotta say. Pretty underwhelming, but hopefully it won't be quite this bad next time. But anyway, back to the vlog. Usually what we do is we have to read music for the first time without seeing it and are expected to play it straight away. We also want to do it with expression and also with as much musicality as possible. But the most common response I get from students I teach when I mention sight reading is, but why can't we just play this other piece that we know really well, and I can play it really well and it sounds fantastic and I don't have to listen to myself making mistakes all over the place and all that. When you think about it, it's not massively surprising. I mean, when you kind of read books as a kid, did you think that I definitely wanted to read the entire works of Charles Dickens? That's, yeah, such a big undertaking and not really something that I think a lot of kids would ever think to do. So when you think about how much an average musician actually reads music, and then you think about how many people are good at sight reading after they've had their training, and some people who just straight up can't read music at all, is it really that surprising that people don't necessarily like to sight read or don't enjoy it? So I'm going to address sight reading in 3 steps. Firstly, is it massively relevant? Next, how good am I at it? Third, how do we get better at sight reading? And also bear in mind that I'm addressing sight reading as something that's dealt with over a score. So we're not talking about sight reading in any other form. It's literally just reading a score, whether it be for piano or for a single stave instrument or for choir or whatever. Reading dots on a page. So firstly, how relevant, Gordon Bennett, this is I don't know if you can see, but the drizzle's definitely getting worse. I may have to abandon the recording and just do it at home. We'll persist for now. So firstly, how relevant is reading a score? Traditionally, music has been kind of relevant, very important in the past. And when you're reading music, you'd have to go back to something like pre-Renaissance times to find a time when people haven't actually read music, they just played it straight off. It's a clear way of communicating music to one another, but it's only a way of communicating it, not necessarily of making it in the broadest sense. So sight reading is very often seen as something like reading words on a page, as I've just talked about the entire works of Charles Dickens. Part of the reason why people are generally better at sight reading is because they've actually just read more music. They've had a lot more time reading it, and it's become like something easy to do, very much like when you've read a book. If you yourself are reading something now on your phone or on the street or in a book, it's probably because you've spent so long actually reading before that you've gotten so quick at it. No one ever really thinks these days about how easy or quick it is to actually read something on a page, but that's exactly what happens, and you wouldn't be able to do that if you hadn't already put the training in beforehand. So obviously the best conclusion to come to after that is, what's missing with sight reading? The answer is, we just don't do it enough. It's as simple as that. Now, if music is relevant in your life, then it will be something that you do all the time, and reading music will probably be part of what you do a lot of the time, unless, and obviously you kind of put to one side things like drums, a lot of kind of popular instruments like guitars, bass and that kind of stuff, which music reading is part of, but at the same time there's lots of musicians of that kind of style and genre that just don't read music, and that's fine. There shouldn't be a distinction between those who read and those who don't, because at the end of the day it just comes down to the kind of music that you write and the music that you play, and that's the main point of it. Being able to read the music just means you're more available, and I'll get into this later, you're much more available for work and jobs later down the line which require you to read music. So if you're playing in a band or orchestra, that exposure to the musical influences that you've got there will definitely broaden your horizons a lot of the time when it comes to music, and eventually build you into a better musician. And to really go off topic here for a minute, I'm going to talk about running. So I've been running a lot. Obviously, I said I would be keeping you guys up to date with how much I've been running, and I haven't really done that, sorry. But I'm currently doing the Couch to 5K challenge, and I'm into the last week this week. It's been fun, it's been tough, gotta say. I literally walked up here earlier and it was a complete nightmare trying to walk up. My calves definitely felt it a lot, and that doesn't bode well for later when I do a run. But now I'm getting my pace down to sub 7 minutes a kilometre, which is great, and this week will be 3 sets of 30 minutes running. The overall goal is to eventually get to a point where I can run 5k in 30 minutes. That's a long way off yet. We're still a long way off. On current pace, we're looking at something like 4 and a bit k in 30 minutes. So I'd need to run faster to be able to get there. But it's definitely helping. You won't believe it from my voice right now, but it's actually helping the breathing and all that kind of stuff, which was a big problem before. But as I was talking about sight reading before, with running, it takes persistence. It takes so much persistence to get to that point where you can actually say, I'm running really well and I'm running far faster than I was at the start. Definitely when I was starting, I wasn't running as fast as sub 7 minutes per kilometre. So that was a big achievement for me last week, and I will keep you up to date. Might do a few quick kind of running update videos which aren't connected to these vlogs. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you want to see that in the comments. So next I'd like to offer a bit of context into my skills as a sight reader and how it affects this monologue in general, because obviously everyone is biased, and I'm definitely a bit biased as well. I passed my sight reading for my grade 8 last year, and I was absolutely overjoyed at that. That's traditionally not something I've been good at, so I'm definitely a lot better at that now, because I had to work really hard at that. I had to work massively hard at getting the sight reading better, to a point where it was easier to just take on the exam. And if I'm honest, I think the lack of a goal has probably hampered my progress since then. I've not got anywhere near as good since then I need to, which is why if you keep an eye out on Instagram, I'm actually going to be doing a few videos, live videos of me sight reading and playing the piano just generally, and that's something that I think will definitely help my progression further down the line. But because I knew I had to get my sight reading a lot better, at the time I think it was probably around a grade 5 or grade 6 level compared to the grade 8 that I was taking on, I needed to really work hard at it, which meant I took on the grade 8 How to Get Better at Sight Reading book and just completed that in a matter of, was it weeks? I feel like it was weeks. Can't actually remember, but it wasn't quick, but I had to really persist, and that was doing it every day. Bear in mind, my full-time job is a musician, so I had time to do that. So let me just take you to the actual piece that I was given for my grade 8. Initially, it was fantastic. I was like, oh, brilliant. You know why? It had no key signature. No key signature, and that meant surely I would pass this with flying colours, no problem at all. Then I look a bit further down and start scanning the music, and as you do, and it wasn't quite as easy as I thought. It definitely was a lot more difficult. They basically put tons and tons of accidentals in for the rest of the piece, and I definitely had a moment of panic at that point, definitely thinking, why is this all these accidentals? Turns out it was actually all in a mode instead of in a key as such, but that meant that it was easier to sight read from that point of view with that context, because it meant I kind of knew what I was reading. And it was also fairly repetitive. This is the other thing about sight reading, is once you understand a piece's context or understand the structure of a piece, it makes it a lot easier to actually read the music and know which bits to concentrate your full attention on when you're preparing it. But without that knowledge of the tones and modes and the structure, I would never have gotten a pass in that exam at all. So obviously, generally, I've definitely struggled with sight reading to the point where it's actually led me to refuse jobs just simply because I didn't have any confidence in my own ability to sight read. These days, I'd like to say that I would take on more than I thought I would. And having this irrational fear of dots definitely held me back in a lot of different areas when it came to reading the music. Since then, I've definitely improved. From one sight reader to many others though, just make sure that you do it a lot. Don't just leave it on the side and imagine it's just going to get better naturally. It's not how it works. I think what I did was probably a bit more like an ostrich burying their head in the sand. It's not really massively surprising that I turned out to not be a particularly good sight reader, but hey, there you go. Moving on to how do we get better with sight reading. First thing I'd say is don't ignore it. What you can't allow to happen is that you end up refusing jobs or avoiding jobs simply because it requires a bit of sight reading. I think the more sight reading that we have, and also, by the way, if you are sight reading, you're also opening yourself up to different parts of music and broadening your horizons as a musician. Whereas if you just kind of sit there and play, I don't know, Mozart all the time, it's fine if someone wants to get you to play Mozart, but the minute someone asks you to play something by Chopin or Debussy, you might be a little bit clueless as to how you're actually supposed to play it. So that thing I mentioned earlier that would improve sight reading over time, it's called experience. Experience is the greatest teacher, there's no question about that. And in music, this is no less true. So the more music that you read over time, the quicker and easier it will be to read music in the future when you've put that study and time in. This is generally because music relies on patterns, especially when we're talking about anything in the known kind of classical era. So we're talking kind of almost Renaissance right through to classical, romantic, modern. If you can read anything from that, there will be patterns which are relevant to each style and genre and kind of historical point. The only time that doesn't apply is when you're dealing with modern music. And when I say modern music here, I'm talking about the 20th century period onwards. We don't talk about that in Cologne here. We're not going to talk about modern music at all. I famously have a hatred of modern music. Yeah. So that's my monologue on modern music. No, it's not. That's my monologue on sight reading. And I have a feeling I've got more to talk about. So let me know in the comments if you want to see more about sight reading, or if you want to ask me questions about sight reading, or any questions you've got talking about what I've mentioned, and hopefully I'll be able to put together something to follow up. And if you enjoy this vlog, hit the like button. And if you enjoy what I do in general, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and there's a little bell icon where you'll be notified every time I put up a video. And yeah, in this time, I hope you're all safe and well. Enjoy the lovely weather. It's not great. You can see it's really not improved. Make the most of it. Enjoy your summers as well, and hopefully I'll be able to get another vlog out to you very soon. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. As the rain starts to come down pretty heavily now. This walk home is going to be interesting.